Alrighty, Dr. Campbell, thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for your time and effort and everything you put into this semester. And so I had a tough time deciding on an album. I wanted to pick one that was meaningful to me, or one that we learned about. But the one that I decided on it's actually Luke Combs' debut album, and it's called This One's For You. It came out on June 2nd, 2017 in Columbia, Nashville, and it was the #1 album on Top Country Albums for 50 weeks, so almost an entire year. So some of the singles on this one are Hurricane, When It Rains It Pours, and One Number Away. And so it's actually interesting because just shortly after he came out with this one, it was just 6 months later, on January 1st, 2018, he came out with a new album, and it was just an extension of it, and it's called This One's For You Too. So there was only 5 more songs that he added to, and it's basically the same playlist. I guess I'll show it to you. So the first one looks like this. Hope you can see that. And then the second one is almost similar. It's almost the exact same, but he's looking the other way and it's a different color. And so what I thought was interesting about it is that it's different from other album covers that you would see. For example, when you look at Metallica, there's the one of, he almost looks like a mummy or a skeleton. He's holding the scale, and there's a lot of deeper meaning to it. But this one's super simple, and it's just him. It's just Luke Combs. And so I feel Luke Combs is always singing from the heart, and it's just singing about his ex or singing about his family. And so, I don't know, it's just kind of it's perfect for Luke Combs. And so that's what I thought was really interesting about it, is it's just him. So anyways, Luke Combs' songs are kind of inspired by rhythm and blues, and the R&B rhythms, and they sound a lot like Sam Hunt's. But what I like about it is that Luke Combs has a bigger and more gruff voice, and it's a little bit deeper, and when he sings, it's almost like he's yelling for a country singer. And so that's what's kind of really interesting, and I've always loved his voice. And I guess that was a big reason why I decided to speak about this album, is because I used to hate country music. When I was in high school, I used to bully kids that listened to country music. And so, but then right around the time this album came out, some friends made me sit down and listen to it, and then we were listening to it in their cars, and I found myself really liking it, and I was like, dang, this cannot be happening. I can't become a country kid. I hate country music. But this album, I fell in love with it, and that's how I really started listening to country music. And I started listening to the older country music, more George Strait, Alan Jackson, Trace Adkins, and so this was just kind of the conversion for me to listening to country music. And so on this album, the majority of the songs are kind of sad. Not kind of, they're pretty sad. He sings about a girl that he had, I don't know, that had broke up with him, and he just almost, I would say over half of his songs on this album are about a breakup, or about losing her, or about seeing her again after they've broken up. But then it's interesting because the other half of them are more your typical country songs, singing about trucks and beer, or about going to the bar. And then there's one song that's called This One's For You, and he's thanking his mom and his dad and his family, and all the people that supported him making it this far. And so it's really interesting. I think it's really cool because he's saying this is for you, this one's for you. And so that has a big effect on the force of his songs, we kind of learned about the force of how hard he's singing, or how hard the instruments are playing. And so in his breakup songs, a lot of them are like I said, he's got that gruff voice, and you can just tell he's singing from the heart, and he's heartbroken. And so in his breakup songs, the force of it is a little bit stronger. But for example, the song This One's For You, and he's got a couple other songs on there that are a little bit more soft, and they're not nearly as strong with the force of it. And so I think that's interesting. You know, like when he's heartbroken, he's like kind of almost like screaming. It's almost like country screamo a little bit. But anyways, so that is like the force of his songs. And all of his songs fit together, and a couple of them sound really, really, really familiar. The two that sound the most familiar are She Got the Best of Me and Must Have Never Met You. Like sometimes they'll come on and I like start singing the wrong lyrics because I think it's the other song. But and like they're both breakup songs, and they're both super good, and like have like that same level of intensity of like almost that, you know, that yelling, that gruff, deep Luke Combs voice. And so so this album, this one's for you, like fits perfectly Luke Combs and his style, and like with his newer songs as well. And so some of his newer songs have like been more of country pop, which isn't my favorite, which I don't love. But this is like the album that I like the most by him. So all of them like fit together, and a lot of his songs are about girls and beer and family and football, like your typical country songs that you hear. But definitely his newer songs are starting to be a little bit more pop country. And so I guess that was like one of the most interesting things that I learned in this class was the very beginning. We like started talking about, well, like what is rock and roll? What is considered rock and roll? And I guess like I just never pictured that, you know, country music and rhythm and blues music had a baby and made rock and roll, you know. And so I just thought that was super interesting, like from day one. And so I guess that's kind of why I wanted to pick this album as well, is because country music is my favorite, and I didn't realize that it had an effect on rock and roll. And I do love listening to rock and roll as well. I mean, obviously I do, or else I wouldn't have taken the class. But, you know, that was one of the things I thought that was super interesting, is that, you know, the effect that country music had on rock and roll. And I think that now rock and roll has had an effect on country music as well. And so I don't know, I've learned a lot in this class, and learned a lot about music and a lot about the history of artists. And so yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for, you know, everything that you've taught and all the effort that you've put in, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that you had to listen to me ramble on about a country singer, not a heavy metal rock and roll man. But anyways, thank you for everything. That's all.